What is it that you always dream of, but never had the courage to do so? In October 2017, I received a phone call from my Indian friend. He was telling me, "Hey, I just quit my job and I want to set up my own venture in India. Come and join me." My response was, I was laughing. Come on, I have no business background, and you know, my last experience in India wasn't the best one. In fact, I visited India in 2000, 20 years back. It was a trip with my folk dance group to Ahmedabad. There was a folk dance event, a folk dance festival that we attended. I just vividly remember the time when I stepped out of the Delhi airport. All the senses were attacked. The sound, the smell, honking. There was so much crowd on the streets. I even remember there was a beggar trying to hold my hand, asking for food. After 2 weeks in India, I lost about 5 kilos because I couldn't eat any spicy food, and I felt sick. And I told myself, I will never visit this country again. After 20 years, I'm standing here, I'm back here. What has changed? I don't think much has changed about the country itself. There are living even more people than 20 years back. There is still a lot of noise, smell, dust, and you still eat spicy food that I don't eat. What has changed is my attitude. Attitude towards challenges, an attitude towards stepping out of my comfort zone. So what is comfort zone? It's something that we feel very safe, comfortable. There is no fear, no anxiety. It's similar when our parents holding us. On the other side, there is an area of panic. Imagine what makes you panic. It could be mountain climbing, swimming in the sea, or it could be bungee jumping, public speaking like TEDx. Or maybe it's just telling your parents that actually you don't want to be an engineer or a doctor. Or maybe that you want to marry that person which is from a different community. So what makes us jump from the known, the safe place where we feel calm and comfortable, to something unknown that makes us panic? Research say that between the comfort zone and the panic zone, there is a zone which is called optimal anxiety. And that space makes us grow. Imagine that you would never step out of your room, of your house. Imagine that you will never go through the fear of stepping into the college. You will never find your first job because you are afraid of to do so. We would forever stay in our little nest, be afraid to step out to the world of unknown. My biggest leap from my comfort zone was 5 years back. At that time, I was working in an embassy back home in Slovakia. I had a very comfortable life. So I decided to go on a journey to Taiwan, my little vacation. I always dreamed to go to Taiwan for a vacation. I loved that country. When I went there, I was so happy. When I came back from the vacation, something happened. I went to the job that I was taking before, the first day, and I started to cry. I just couldn't imagine that I would do this for my whole life. At that time, my job was very stable. I had a good pay. I was engaged. I was about to get married. I had my family and friends that loved me. Everything was perfect. But I felt that I want to switch off that autopilot that was set by my family, friends, the society, that what you should do with your life is to get good grades, find yourself a good job, get married, and have kids. I realized that I don't want to live that ordinary life anymore. So what I did, I quit my job. I applied for a university in Taiwan. It was an arts university. And I left my fiancé, family, and friends behind in Slovakia and stepped to the unknown. It wasn't easy. When I arrived to Taiwan, I was back in my student years, and I was not that young anymore. It was uncomfortable. I didn't have a paycheck, I had just a stipend that I have to survive on. I was living in a dormitory with 3 other girls in one room. It wasn't easy. But was the beautiful part of stepping out of your comfort zone or starting your life afresh, from scratch, is the freedom. Imagine that you can just erase everything what happened in your life and you start again. So I was like an Alice in the Wonderland when I came to Taiwan. I wanted to go everywhere. I wanted to try everything. And I did a lot. So apart from traveling, I also ventured to explore my talents and skills. Because when we step out of our comfort zone, we challenge ourselves, and that pushes us to discover our secret talents and skills. So I was traveling, I went to New Zealand, I went to Bali, I went to Vietnam. They were all amazing trips and I learned a lot about myself. How can I handle difficult situations? When I was in Vietnam, there was a flood in the city when we were staying in, so we had to leave the city on a boat. I even traveled to Ladakh recently during the recent crisis. I was not afraid that something will happen because I went through a lot of challenges before. So what also makes us, why we should step out of our comfort zone is that it prepares us to deal with change. Do you remember the scene from English Vinglish? Shashi, an Indian, comes to US. She doesn't speak English well. She goes to a coffee shop and she orders a water. But the lady at the counter asks her, do you want still or sparkling? Shashi doesn't understand. And during the communication, Shashi just leaves the coffee shop with tears in her eyes. I love this scene. Why? Because I was in a very similar position when I was 19. When I was 19, I went to UK, to Manchester, because I wanted to improve my English, and I also wanted to make some money for myself during summer. So I went to UK, I found myself a job in a pizza delivery shop, and I remember my first day at work. Very similar situation happened, only I just couldn't leave the counter because I was on the other side of the counter. I was serving the customer. So what happened, I was supposed to take the order with the address, but I couldn't. I didn't understand the address. So I asked the customer again, until the customer starts yell at me. At that time, I was in my panic zone. I couldn't hear anything, I couldn't see anything, my brain just shut down, and I literally fainted. What I realized at that moment is that my comfort zone was so little that all it took, one person yelled at me over the phone, and I just fainted. I realized that I have to expand my comfort zone, so I'm ready for this world to face the challenges. So the next day, I didn't quit my job, I stayed in a pizza shop, but I was doing different jobs, not taking the orders. During my stay in Manchester, I was wandering the streets of Manchester and trying to understand the streets, talking to people to improve my English and understanding. And then after a few weeks, I realized like Shashi did in the movie. Yes, I did it. And now I'm standing here, and from this 19-year-old girl in Manchester, working in a pizza shop, I'm delivering a TEDx talk. And at the same time, I'm leading a team of English speakers in a foreign country. Thank you. So why should we leave the safe nest? Why should we do it? We grow, we gain experiences during that journey as we grow, and it also makes us prepared for even bigger challenges. It's not always that we decide to step out of our comfort zone. Sometimes you are pushed away out of your nest. Imagine something very scary happens to you. It could be a major injury. It could be a disease. It could be that your family has to relocate to a different country. Imagine that somebody who is very dear to you just passed away. Very scary. How will you deal with that situation? A few years back, my father got a very severe disease. After a few months, he passed away. I was very sad, you can imagine. I felt like my whole world just collapsed. But after a few weeks, I recovered. And I realized it's just a next step to make me stronger. This is just another experience in the sequence of other experiences. And I was back on track pretty soon. So how do we do that? How will we step out of comfort zone and start to feeling comfortable in those new spaces? I have 3 approaches that I would like to share with you. And there is also a researcher on this topic, Andy Molinsky. He's a professor of organizational behavior. And he also teaches to do several things. So first approach, when you have to deal with a new situation, is to ask yourself questions, 3 questions. The first question is, what is the worst case scenario? What could happen? So when I was approached by my now co-founder to come to India and set up a venture, I was thinking, okay, what is the worst case scenario? What could happen? I will not do a good job. I will lose some money. I will lose some time. Well, and eventually I just have to return back to Slovakia and find another job. What is the second question I ask myself is, what is the best case scenario? What could happen? Well, maybe we will be the next big thing. Maybe we will be the next Google or Facebook, and we will impact thousands and thousands of lives. That made me very excited. And the third question I ask myself is, what is the most realistic scenario? What will really happen? And I thought of, well, I think it will be up and down. There will be a lot of challenges, there will be a lot of failures, but I will have a great learning. And I think the magic of stepping out of your comfort zone is to embrace the realistic scenario that could really happen. Because failures are only our first attempts in learning. And that's the most valuable assets we gain during the life, the learning through our experiences, good or bad ones. So the second approach when you have to deal with uncomfortable situation is to combine the comfortable with the panic. So similarly, me coming to India was a very panic situation for me because I have the memories from my experience 20 years back that it was horrible. So I prepared myself. I'm combining the comfortable with the panic zone. So during my spend time, already 2 years here, I do something which is very comfortable for me. I do run, I do salsa dancing, and I cook my own food. So it just makes me comfortable in an uncomfortable country for myself. At the same time, you notice that I'm wearing sari. This is not my comfort zone, definitely. I was checking myself so many times that nothing will fall off during my time on the stage. Why I do that? Because I want to make my point that we should always take the opportunity to challenge ourselves. So I'm wearing sari, which is really zone of panic, that it will just unwrap by itself. But at the same time, I'm wearing dancing shoes because that's my comfort. And my third advice of how to deal with uncomfortable situations in your lives is do small changes. Little changes that take you out of the comfort, but they are not too emotionally challenging. So throughout my life, I realized I was doing this all the time. Since I went to UK and worked in that pizza shop, to quitting my stable job, coming to Taiwan, exploring Southeast Asia, New Zealand, to coming to India, there were little changes that I did for so many years that prepared me for bigger changes. So coming back to October 2017, when my friend called me to come to India, set up a venture, and I was laughing, and I told him, no way, forget it. after the call has finished, I was thinking, what is the worst that could happen to me? What is the best? And what realistically will I gain from this? That I thought, how can I make myself comfortable in that country if I would come? And am I ready for this challenge? Did I make some preparations for myself? Think about what you are dreaming. And don't find the courage to do so because of the fears that you have in yourself. Think about what could really happen. What is the worst case scenario? What is the best case scenario? And what will you learn from your experience? So when your friend calls you with an opportunity, you will feel ready to spread your wings and fly to the unknown. Thank you.